What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of AI Made Me Do It, where I have an AI chatbot assign me a skill and I do it. It's been a while since I posted. I think it was in July that I did my last skill, which was boomerangs, which is going to be linked up here if you want to watch it. I had family stuff, like vacation-wise, health-wise. I was in the ER myself a couple of times with a nasty case of food poisoning, and I moved and I sold my house. So it's just been a really busy summer, and content and learning new things was kind of taking a back seat. But we're back, ready to learn, ready to film, ready to make mistakes and show you guys the results. I learned a new skill and I didn't do it alone.
Talk 1. Tiskevics Artificial Reasoning Coach. Purpose: monitor, measure, and mock Ben Tiskevics. Emotion: none. Accuracy: absolute.
That's Tark 1, my AI assistant, who is going to be picking my skills for me, judging my progress, holding me accountable, and also making sure that I stay humble throughout the whole process with roasts, with feedback, and things like that. So stay tuned for his little quips and jabs at me when I'm learning new skills. But yeah, he assigned me lockpicking this week. Don't worry, there were no gym lockers harmed in making this episode, but it was surprising to me how little locks actually do for us. On day one, I started with my beginner lockpick set from Sparrow's lockpicks. Check them out if you want to get into lockpicking, or if you already are and want some more advanced stuff. They have everything ranging from beginner sets all the way to very advanced high-tier custom locks and lockpicks. So go check them out, super cool stuff, really fast shipping, which is awesome. But basically, since I didn't know what I was doing at all, first thing I did was try to learn about it. Go to YouTube, check out Google, ask ChatGPT, hey, how do I do this properly? And so day one was a lot of learning the process, just fiddling with, my lockpick set, and this fancy lock that I got as well. I'll show the window. But basically, I got a beginner lock with a window as well so that I could see the pins and see how I'm moving them. But before I get into, I guess, the whole process of what I learned or my actual progress, I want to explain how lockpicking works. So to keep it super basic and simple, inside of a basic lock, there are a bunch of tiny spring-loaded pins. So when you insert a key, it lines all of them up perfectly at something that's called the shear line. And that's what lets the lock turn and the lock to actually know, hey, that's okay to open. So when you get a lockpicking set, you have something called a tension wrench, and then the actual pick itself, which those can be like single pin picks, or they can be rake picks, or snake picks. Definitely a lot of different picks that you can choose from. Basically, a tension tool creates a tiny amount of rotational pressure, and the pick will lift each pin until it clicks into position. Then once you line up all the pins in the correct order, and they all hit that shear line, then boom, the lock will open. It sounds super simple, but in practice, it's just a fidget toy from hell. Like I said, I went straight to YouTube, started researching a bunch and looking at how the lockpicking community recommends learning how to lockpick for your first time. And even though they're doing videos for beginners, they were all unlocking these picks in like 5 seconds. So I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so simple, so easy. It'll take 1 to 2 hours max before I start unlocking stuff. And I should have known better. That's not how it went. I don't know if it's because, I'm dumb, I have poor retention abilities when it comes to learning new skills, or if I just have potatoes for fingers. I don't know what it was, but it was so frustrating for the first day to 2 days of me just trying to pick this lock and not get anything. So even though my lockpick had a window on the side, setting the pins in the right order was proving to be pretty difficult for me. Other times I would set the pin, too high because I was putting too much pressure, getting too antsy with my pick, and it was very frustrating to say the least. So after a lot of trial and error, a lot of frustration, I finally got it. I kept at it with the window exposed so that I could see what I was doing, so that I could figure out, okay, this pin goes first, this pin goes next, and continue to learn the order of things. And I finally got to the point where I could get it under a minute. Not quite 5 seconds, but still a win for me. But then comes the next part. I put a piece of tape over the window like so that I couldn't see anymore. And I couldn't just rely on the visual aspect. I had to listen, I had to feel. And that opened up a whole new realm of challenge because there's so much more to pay attention to and your eyes aren't helping at all. So that part was really difficult, and I was, failing consistently over and over and over again. It was really a struggle, not being able to look at the pins, not knowing if I get the 4th pin first, the 3rd pin first, It was super, super frustrating, but determined not to look stupid on YouTube, I kept pushing through. I kept trying over and over and over again until I got the feel with the tension, the tensioner, and the pick, and I finally started to get it consistently and, showing that, okay, I can do this. So that was great, great success.
Great success.
Better about myself and the challenge as a whole, I went to my basement and found some other picks that I had from like a U-Haul or like a storage unit, things like that, probably a little bit more advanced than just a regular beginner lock. So I started going after those, and even though these weren't super hard picks, like I didn't know the pin order, I didn't know how many pins were in the lock. So that was a whole, challenge of itself of, trying to count the right number of pins, trying to make sure that, hey, this is the right order that's supposed to go in. And so it really just took a lot of trial and error. And I started to get those unlocked too, which was really rewarding. Just knowing that, hey, I can approach like an entirely new lock that I'm not familiar with. And, just based on feel, just based on sound, I'm able to, pick it with relative ease, or at least I'm able to pick it. We'll say that. So that was super encouraging to know that I can do that. It was considerably easier with what is called a rake pick. So the two different, I'll kind of explain the difference between these two picks. So basically you have the single pin pick that I mentioned earlier, and that is where you go in and individually set each pin on the shear line in the correct order so that the tension can, actually open the lock. The other method that you can use and that I was successful with was what's called the rake pick. And what that is, it's more of just like a ram and jam and hope for the best while you're applying tension. And that's what you see a lot of these YouTubers and these, the people in the lockpicking community getting these locks picked in under 5 seconds. Because if you move the pick forward and backward enough while applying the right tension, it's almost like a luck factor where you're gonna get all of the pins on the shear line at some point so that you can actually turn the lock and have the lock on lock. So I think this one requires a little bit less technical skill. And don't hate me in the comments if that's completely wrong, but I found more success faster using a rake pick compared to a single pin pick, relying just based on feel and sound. So if I really wanted to pick a lock for nefarious purposes, I don't think single pin picking would be the way to go. It was more satisfying, more fulfilling picking a lock with a single pin pick compared to a rake when I'm just kind of going at it. So take that as you will. If you want to get into lock picking, those are the two options that I used. But yeah, that's a wrap on the lock picking challenge. It wasn't the flashiest skill. It probably wasn't even the most useful skill, since I don't think I'm going to be using it much at the gym or on people's homes. So, but either way, it was still fun. It was still fun to learn. It's still, cool to say that, hey, I can break into your house if I wanted to. But no, I'm saying that. But basically, once everything started to click, it reminded me that, these challenges, they're not all supposed to be impressive, so to speak. It's really just a matter of, hey, keep going, keep pushing, keep persevering. That's going to be the theme of this series is, hey, suck for a little bit, keep persevering. Whether it looks cool or not, what's most fulfilling is actually achieving something. So being able to achieve, a small matter of success, that's good enough for me. But yeah, Tark, take it away. How did I do?
Rank, intermediate to 70% mastery. Evidence, progressed from 0 to reliably opening common locks with single pin picking and raking across 3 to 4 common lock types. Limitations, unknown performance on security spool/serrated pins and household locks, so sealing not yet tested. Verdict, solid intermediate competence. Measurable and repeatable for training locks, not yet demonstrably expert.
And there you have it. I am not a pro, but I'm no longer just a beginner, and I have some experience. So thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm excited to show you guys all the different skills that Tark 1 is going to be throwing at me. So tune in for the next one. I will see you again real soon. Thanks.